While I was finishing up some contracts at the office, sipping my third cup of stale black coffee, my phone lit up. I almost ignored it. But it was my son, Ethan. He wasn't the kind of kid who called for no reason. Always calm. Always quiet. "Dad," his voice cracked. I could hear him fighting back tears, breath ragged like he'd just been running. "Someone's here. Mom's new friend. He says you're not my dad anymore. Says he's the alpha in this house." I froze. "What the hell are you talking about, Ethan? Where's your mom?" He grabbed my arm, "Dad." Hard. Threw me in the basement and locked the door. He's yelling. Smashing things. Said it's time to deal with that loser. He means you. I was already on my feet. "He's laughing," Ethan whispered. "He keeps saying there's nothing you can do." I couldn't breathe. My chest clenched like a vice. My hands trembled as I whispered, "Call an ambulance. Now. That boyfriend won't bother you ever again." I grabbed my keys, stormed out of the office without a word to my assistant, and peeled out of the parking lot. That 20-minute drive home felt like war. My eyes darted between the road and the speedometer. 90, 100. My hands gripped the wheel so tight, I could feel my nails digging into my skin. How long? How long had this been going on? Ashley, my wife, had been working late more often than usual. That alone wasn't suspicious. But then came the perfume. Strong. New. And not for me. Then the locked phone. The turned-over screen. The whispered calls in the laundry room. But never, not once, did I imagine she'd bring someone into our house. Not our home. Not with our son there. And certainly not someone who'd lay a finger on Ethan. I turned onto our street, tires screeching, rage rising like fire in my veins. The garage door was wide open. A trail of broken wine bottles led from the kitchen to the living room. Glass crunched under my boots. He was there. A tall, smug bastard with a buzz cut and tribal tattoos creeping up his neck like a disease. Shirtless. Drunk. Laughing into his phone. "You'll never guess what I just did to her loser husband's house," he slurred into the speaker. "Kids crying like AB*TCH downstairs." I didn't say a word. I didn't ask for explanations. I launched across the room like a bullet. One punch landed straight in his jaw. The second in his gut. He doubled over, gasping. But I didn't stop. Couldn't. He'd locked my son in the damn basement. He crossed the line. We knocked over the coffee table. Smashed through the TV stand. I slammed him against the wall, my fist cocked again when Ashley's voice cut through the chaos. "Jason." "Stop." She stood in the doorway, holding a suitcase. Her heels clicked on the hardwood as she walked in like she was returning from a spa retreat, not a war zone. Her eyes didn't go to Ethan. Didn't go to the broken furniture. Just to him. "Troy, baby, are you okay?" Troy. That's what she called him. Not, "What the hell are you doing to my husband?" Not, "Why is my son locked in the F***King basement?" Just, "Troy, baby." I stepped back, disbelief painting every inch of my face. "You let this piece of garbage put his hands on our son? In my house?" She didn't flinch. Didn't apologize. Didn't even lie well. She smiled. Cold. Sharp. Cruel. "Maybe if you were more of a man, Jason, you'd still have a family." I stared at her. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the girl I met under fairy lights in college, who said she wanted a quiet life, a happy home, a boy just like Ethan. This was a stranger. And she wasn't just lying. She was enjoying it. "You think you can waltz back in here and play hero?" She sneered. "You left us alone too much. You buried yourself in work. You stopped being fun. I found someone who makes me feel again." "You mean someone who gets drunk and locks a 12-year-old in a basement?" I shot back. Her lips curled into a smug smile. "At least he's not boring." The room spun. I walked past her without a word. Found the basement key. Unlocked the door. Ethan rushed up the stairs and straight into my arms, shaking, his face blotchy from crying. "Dad," he whispered, "he said you weren't coming." I looked over at Troy, now groaning on the floor, and then back at Ashley. Her arms were crossed. Her eyes rolled. Like we were the problem. Like she was the victim. But in that moment, something inside me cracked, and something else began to burn. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. The police arrived 20 minutes later. Not because I called them, Ethan did. Smart kid. Always was. But even in all his fear, he remembered what I'd taught him. Don't wait for the storm to pass. Act. 2 officers came in. One took statements. The other tried to figure out why there were wine stains on the ceiling and a flat-screen TV in 3 separate pieces. Ashley sat on the couch like she was waiting for a manicure. Legs crossed. Filing her nails. Troy was on the floor, holding an ice pack to his face, shooting death glares at me like he was the one who got betrayed. When the officer asked what happened, Ashley was fast. Too fast. He broke in, she said, pointing at me with that perfect pink fingernail. We're separated. Jason doesn't live here anymore. The words didn't hit me like a punch, they sliced. Clean. Cold. Like a scalpel to the chest. Separated? I said, voice low. You kicked me out for a retreat with your sister 2 weeks ago. I've been sleeping on my brother's couch waiting for you to talk to me. She didn't blink. Didn't care. Looks like I moved on. The cop glanced between us. Ma'am, your son made the call. Not you. Is that correct? Ashley's jaw tightened. That boy is his. He's just trying to stir drama. My name's Ethan, my son said quietly from the hallway. He locked me in the basement. I called because I was scared. And because Mom didn't do anything. The second cop nodded. We need to take a statement from the boy. Ashley laughed. Oh, please. He's just being dramatic. He's 12. He watches too many superhero movies. Troy grunted something under his breath about loser genes and beta parenting. I didn't even look at him. If I did, I'd break his jaw the rest of the way. After 20 minutes of back and forth, they didn't arrest anyone. Just wrote it down as domestic conflict. Said it would be reviewed. They left us with a warning. But something inside me had already shifted. This wasn't about saving a marriage. This was about saving my son. When they were gone, I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a trash bag, and started gathering my things. Ashley leaned against the doorway, arms folded like a queen surveying her ruined kingdom. So that's it, she said. You're giving up? I turned slowly. You brought a man into our house. Let him lay hands on our child. And you let him mock me like he owns this place. What the hell did you expect? She rolled her eyes. I expected you to fight for me. I barked out a laugh, bitter and raw. You locked our son in the basement. You fought for nothing. You just lied. Over and over. About working late. About needing space. About that spa trip. It wasn't a spa, was it? She gave me that look. The one I used to mistake for seduction. Now I saw it for what it was, manipulation. It was Cabo. With Troy. And yes, I told him all about you. How dull you are. How predictable. Funny, I said, stuffing the last of my things into the bag. You used to say that's what you loved about me. People change, she shrugged. Some of us grow. Others cling to their little office jobs and boring lives. I walked past her, stopped at the door, and turned back. I hope he was worth it. She smiled. That same cold, cruel smile. He is. I opened the door. Ethan stood there, backpack ready. You coming with me? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Didn't look at her. Always. We walked out into the night, broken, shaken, but together. And in my gut, I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up on my brother Caleb's couch, staring at the cracked ceiling like it owed me answers. Ethan was still asleep in the guest room, curled up under a blanket too thin for warmth. I pulled it tighter around him and walked into the kitchen, where Caleb was pouring coffee and pretending he hadn't heard me crying in the bathroom at 3 a.m. Rough night? He asked, sliding a mug my way. I didn't answer. Just took the coffee, nodded. We both knew there weren't words for what happened. Not yet. You gonna go back for the rest of your stuff? He asked carefully. I don't want a single thing from that house, I muttered. Not after what happened. Not after what she did. He hesitated. You sure about that? I looked up. Why wouldn't I be? Caleb scratched the back of his neck. Because Ashley was at your place last night. After you left. What? Yeah. I got a call from the neighbor, Mrs. Paxton. She said she saw her and that Troy guy tossing stuff out the windows. Luggage. Documents. Photos. My stomach sank. She's erasing you, he added. Piece by piece. I was on my feet before he finished the sentence. Every mile back to that house felt like slow torture. I kept flashing back to Ethan's voice on the phone. He says you're not my dad anymore. That house was ours. I painted that damn fence myself. Fixed the garage door with YouTube tutorials and bloody knuckles. Built Ethan's bookshelf with my bare hands. And now she was throwing it all away. With him. When I pulled up, I saw the damage from the street. My wedding suit was on the front lawn, soaking wet from the sprinklers. The framed photo of our honeymoon in Aspen was shattered on the driveway. A box of Ethan's baby clothes, onesies I had fought to keep, was spilling into the gutter. I got out of the car, every step heavy with disbelief, rage twisting in my chest like a coiled wire. Ashley stood on the porch with a glass of wine. It wasn't even noon. You're not supposed to be here, she said, voice flat, like she was reading off a script. I ignored her. Walked past the debris, straight into the house. Inside, it was worse. Troy was lounging on my recliner, wearing my robe. He looked up and grinned. Yo, you again? Didn't you learn your lesson last time? I didn't answer. I didn't even look at him. I went straight to the bookshelf, pulled off the drawer under the bottom shelf, the hidden one. It was still there. My folder. Birth certificates. Bank info. Copies of contracts. Photos. Proof. I tucked it under my arm and turned. Ashley stood in the hallway, watching me like I was a stranger rifling through her purse. You can't take that, she said. It's mine, I snapped. Everything in here is mine. And you know it. She stepped closer. Jason, don't be dramatic. Dramatic? I laughed. You locked our son in a basement and threw my life on the lawn. You brought a stranger into our house and let him claim my family like some kind of prize. He is a prize, she said with a smirk. Unlike you, he doesn't play victim every time things get hard. I clenched my jaw, breathing hard. Troy snorted behind me. Yeah, dude. Grow a pair. I turned, took 2 steps toward him. He flinched. I swear, I said quietly, if you ever come near my son again, I won't call the cops. I'll make sure you don't walk again. Got it? He nodded, face pale. Ashley laughed again. This is who you are now? The big bad daddy. I walked out without answering, folder tied in hand, head high. She could keep the house. But I had the truth. And soon, she learned the price of turning a man into a ghost in his own home. I didn't go back to Caleb's. Instead, I drove Ethan to a diner we used to love back before things got dark. He didn't say much at first, just poked at his pancakes like he was afraid they'd disappear if he touched them too hard. You okay? I asked gently, sipping coffee that tasted like burnt sorrow. He nodded, then shook his head. I don't know. I didn't push him. We sat in silence for a while. I stared out the window at the rain while Ethan stirred syrup like it held answers. When he finally spoke, his voice was too calm. Why does she like him? My heart cracked. I don't know, buddy. Some people, they get bored. They forget what matters. And they think something new means something better. But he's a jerk. I smiled. Yeah, he is. Ethan looked up. He said you were weak. That you ran away when things got hard. But you didn't. You came. I put my hand over his. I'll always come. No matter what. You hear me? He nodded again. I thought that would be the hardest part of the day. But the real pain was still coming. Later that night, after Ethan went to bed, I opened the folder I grabbed from the house. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. I needed answers. Something to make sense of the hell I'd been living through. Inside were receipts, emails, hotel confirmations. Ashley hadn't just been cheating. She'd been planning. For months. Multiple flights to places she never told me about. Receipts for gifts I never saw. Expensive ones, watches, bracelets, even a damn motorcycle registered under Troy's name. Photos. God, the photos. Her in lingerie I never bought. Her laughing in clubs, draped over him. Her in bed with him, not doing anything explicit, but enough to make me want to punch a wall until my knuckles split. But the worst? A letter. Unsent. Written in her handwriting. Tucked between divorce paperwork she hadn't filed yet. Jason will never leave unless he's broken first. I have to make him believe it's his fault. That he lost everything on his own. Then maybe he'll just disappear. I read it 3 times. Each word landed like glass in my throat. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a strategy. A hit job. She wanted me erased. My identity. My dignity. My fatherhood. I stared at that letter until the words blurred into each other. Until I couldn't tell where her voice ended and the rage in my head began. Then I picked up my phone. And I called my lawyer. 2 days later, I filed for full custody of Ethan. Emergency hearing. Photos. Receipts. Statements. That letter. I handed it all over. My lawyer, Lisa, read through it with wide eyes and a disgusted frown. She doesn't know you have this? She asked. No. Good. Keep it that way. This isn't just a custody case. This is character assassination. And we're going to bury her with her own words. For the first time in weeks, I felt something real in my chest. Hope. Not the naive kind, the kind that comes after fire, after the collapse. The kind that knows exactly what's at stake. I wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore. I was fighting for my son. For myself. For the life that she tried to burn down while smiling in my face. Ashley thought she'd written the final chapter. But she forgot one thing. I'm still holding the pinpoint. 2 weeks later, we were standing in a family courtroom that smelled like old wood, sour coffee, and broken promises. Ashley strolled in like she was walking a runway. High heels, tight black dress, fake crocodile handbag. She smiled at the judge like she was there to sell him something. Troy sat in the back, chewing gum like a schoolboy, dressed in a suit 2 sizes too big. He winked at me when I turned around. Lisa leaned in. He's the type to self-destruct on the stand. Just wait. Ethan sat beside me, stiff, dressed in his only decent button-down. He looked smaller than usual, like he was trying to disappear into the chair. I squeezed his shoulder. You're doing good, bud. Just tell the truth. That's all. When Ashley took the stand, she cried. On command. I was scared, she said. Jason was gone all the time. I had no support. Troy was just there for me. He helped me feel alive again. The judge raised an eyebrow. And locking your son in the basement? That's how he helped. Ashley blinked, caught off guard. That was a misunderstanding. Ethan exaggerates. He's at that age, you know. Ethan looked at me. His face flushed red, and his lip quivered. I whispered, be brave. He walked up slowly when they called him. His feet barely made a sound on the polished floor. The clerk swore him in, and then the questions started. Ethan, can you tell us what happened the day you called your dad? His voice was low, but clear. Troy grabbed my arm. It hurt. He shoved me downstairs and locked the door. He told me my dad wasn't my dad anymore. Gasps whispered through the room. Even the bailiff looked shocked. And your mother? She saw it. She didn't stop him. She said I needed to respect new boundaries. Ashley stood up. That's not true. The judge banged his gavel. Sit down, Mrs. Pierce. You'll have a chance to respond. Lisa took over from there, smooth as ice. She pulled out the letter. The one Ashley thought was still hidden. Do you recognize this handwriting, Mrs. Pierce? Ashley's face drained of color. No. Lisa handed over a document Ashley had signed in court records. Let's compare. Same loops. Same slant. Same pressure. Are you sure this letter, in which you admit to emotionally manipulating your husband into a breakdown, isn't yours? Ashley swallowed hard. This is harassment. No, Mrs. Pierce, the judge said. This is evidence. She cracked then. Started yelling. About how I was boring. How I never made her feel beautiful. How Troy was a real man. She laughed when Lisa mentioned Ethan's trauma, saying he'll forget all this in a year. The room went silent after that. A kind of silence that weighs down on everyone, even the walls. The judge looked at Ashley like she had just admitted to drowning puppies. He didn't say much. Didn't need to. By the end of the hearing, full temporary custody was awarded to me. Ashley stormed out, yelling at Troy in the hallway about how this was all his fault, while he just stared at her like she was a stranger. I didn't feel joy. Not really. Just relief. And exhaustion. After the hearing, Ethan and I went out for burgers. Just the two of us. We barely talked. We didn't have to. But when the food came and I asked if he wanted to split a milkshake, he smiled. Not forced. Not sad. A real smile. That night, I watched him fall asleep for the first time in a month without flinching in his dreams. And I realized something. The real one wasn't the court ruling. It was knowing he felt safe again. That he knew his father never left. That no matter how hard she tried to break me, I stayed standing. Not for revenge. But for him. A week after the court hearing, I got a text from an unknown number. Meet me. Just you. It's about Ashley. 8 p.m. Old West Side lot. No name. No threat. Just that. Could have been a trap. Could have been a prank. But something in my gut said it wasn't. And when you've had your whole life flipped upside down by someone who once swore they loved you, your gut becomes the only thing you trust. I told Caleb where I was going, just in case. When I pulled into the Old West Side parking lot, the sun was just dipping behind the buildings. It was empty, cracked pavement, faded yellow lines, a single flickering street lamp. I killed the engine and waited. Then she showed up. Not Ashley. Her sister, Melissa. We hadn't spoken in months, not since Ashley cut ties with anyone who still talked to me. Melissa walked up slowly, wrapped in a hoodie, arms folded like she wasn't sure if she should be here. I don't have long, she said, eyes darting around. If Ashley finds out I'm talking to you, she'll lose it. She already lost everything, I said coldly. She nodded. Yeah, and she's about to lose more. Melissa handed me a flash drive. What's this? Proof, she said. Video, messages. She's been planning this whole thing with Troy since before she kicked you out. They wanted to flip your assets. Sell the house. Take Ethan. Start over with your money. My chest tightened. Why are you helping me? She looked away, ashamed. Because I was part of it at first. She told me you were cheating. that you were abusive, that Ethan wanted out. I believed her. I helped her get access to your bank files. But then I saw the way she let Troy treat Ethan. That night in the basement, I begged her to stop. She told me to stay out of it, said Ethan needed to toughen up. I clenched my fists. She used everyone. Melissa nodded. She's not done. She's trying to file for joint custody again. She hired a new lawyer. She's lying through her teeth. Said you manipulated Ethan, brainwashed him. Said you bribed the judge. I almost laughed. Of course she did. Melissa leaned in. Don't trust her. Don't trust anything she says. She's unraveling, but that's when she's most dangerous. When I got home, I plugged in the flash drive. It was worse than I thought. Recordings of Ashley on speaker with Troy. We'll get rid of him. He'll crumble. Then we sell, take what's ours, and disappear. Ethan's just like him. Weak. Always crying. Maybe we should send him to that military boarding school. If Jason fights back, we just tell everyone he's unstable. I've been seeding that narrative for months. Every word made my stomach twist. I handed the files to Lisa the next day. She nearly dropped her coffee. This is nuclear, she whispered. We're not just keeping custody, we're making sure she never gets close to your son again. That afternoon, I picked Ethan up from school. We got ice cream. Sat in the car watching the rain hit the windshield in slow, lazy drops. Dad, he said, licking chocolate from his thumb. You think she ever really loved us? I paused. I think she loved a version of us. The one in her head. The one that did what she wanted, smiled when she needed it, and disappeared when she got bored. He nodded slowly. I'm glad you're not that guy. I turned to him. Me too. That night, I got a call from Ashley. Blocked number. I almost ignored it. But I answered. She didn't sound angry this time. She sounded broken. You win, she whispered. I didn't say anything. I hope you're happy now, she added. I took a long breath. I'm not happy. I'm healing. There's a difference. She didn't respond. Just silence. Then the line went dead. And in that silence, I realized something. For the first time in months, she wasn't holding the strings. I was out a few days after Ashley's broken whisper over the phone. I got another call, this time from Lisa. We got a court date, she said. This time, it's permanent custody. And Jason, with what we've got now, she's toast. I didn't cheer. Didn't smile. I just nodded. Winning against Ashley didn't feel like winning anymore. It felt like finally being allowed to breathe after drowning for too long. We walked into the courtroom that Friday morning like soldiers stepping into the last battle of a long, bloody war. Ethan wore his lucky hoodie, the blue one with the frayed cuffs, and held my hand the entire walk down the hallway. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He knew we were walking toward the end of something. Ashley showed up 20 minutes late, dragging her new lawyer behind her. Some slick guy in designer glasses who looked more like a cologne commercial than legal counsel. Troy wasn't with her. From what Melissa told me, they'd been fighting nonstop. He moved out. Apparently, he'd found someone younger. Poetic. The judge barely let the proceedings begin before asking if Lisa had anything to present. She did. The flash drive. The emails. The hidden phone calls. The recorded conversations where Ashley flat out said she wanted me broken, how Ethan was an obstacle, and how she planned to start over with the right man this time. It wasn't just a dagger. It was a guillotine. Ashley tried to cry again. She clutched a tissue like it owed her rent and looked up at the judge with those same fake tears. But this time, no one flinched. Not even the court clerk. When the judge handed down the ruling, his voice was like stone. Full legal and physical custody awarded to Jason Pierce. Ms. Pierce is restricted to supervised visitation only, pending a psychological evaluation and further investigation. Ashley's mouth dropped open like she couldn't believe it. Like somehow, this wasn't the story she thought she was writing. When it was over, she followed me into the hallway. Jason, she hissed, mascara streaked down her cheeks. You're ruining my life. I turned to her slowly. Calm. Clear. Done. No, Ashley. You did that. I just finally stopped letting you ruin mine. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. Do you think he'll ever forgive you? She snapped. Do you think Ethan's gonna love you forever just because you saved him? I didn't answer. Because I didn't need to. Ethan walked up a moment later, looked her right in the eye, and said, You don't scare me anymore. Then we walked away. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Just quiet. Free. Later that night, Ethan and I unpacked the last box at Caleb's place. It wasn't much, just a few old photo albums, his gaming console, and a sweater my mom knitted before she passed. We didn't say much, But there was peace in the silence, like we could finally hear ourselves think. As we sat on the couch, Ethan looked up and said, "Can we start fresh? Like, actually fresh? New place. Just you and me." I nodded. "Yeah, bud. We can." He smiled, not a big one, but enough to light up the space between us. And I realized, it wasn't about burning down the past. It was about choosing not to live in its ashes anymore. Ashley would go on, I'm sure. She'd lie her way into new circles, smile her way into new beds. But that world of hers, the one where I was just a pawn in her little power game, that was gone. Destroyed. By truth. By love. By something stronger than manipulation, clarity. A month later, Ethan and I moved into a small house on the east side of town. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, creaky floors, a tiny backyard with half-dead grass and a fence that leaned like it was tired of standing. But it was ours. No lies in the walls. No ghosts in the closet. No perfume on the pillows that didn't belong. I painted his room first. Let him pick the color, neon green. Looked like a tennis ball exploded. But he loved it. Said it made him feel awake. That was all I needed to hear. We built everything ourselves. Bookshelves, bed frames, even a crooked treehouse out back. He didn't ask about Ashley. I didn't bring her up. There was a silent understanding between us. We weren't pretending she didn't exist. We were just done letting her take up space. One night, while we were grilling hot dogs in the backyard, Ethan asked, "Do you think people like Mom ever change?" I thought about it. "No," I said honestly. "I think they change masks. But the face underneath, that usually stays the same." He nodded like he already knew. "I'm glad you didn't." "Didn't what?" "Change. Or give up. Or break." I looked at him, this boy who'd seen more than any kid his age should have, who still managed to smile like the world wasn't on fire, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Pride. Not in me. In him. Ashley had tried to break us both. Had used every weapon in her twisted little arsenal, lies, manipulation, gaslighting, even physical intimidation, to rip us apart and convince the world we were the problem. And in the end, she lost. She wasn't a villain with a grand ending. She was just gone. I heard rumors after that. Melissa kept me updated. When she could. Ashley tried suing Troy. Claimed he emotionally scammed her. He skipped town. Left her with debt. She got fired from her job after the court documents surfaced in a local HR scandal blog. Her reputation? Shattered. She sent one letter to Ethan. Just one. He opened it, read it quietly, then handed it to me and said, "You can burn it." I did. We didn't talk about it again. Instead, we talked about his science project, his favorite YouTuber, a new dog we were thinking of adopting. Life didn't become perfect, but it became ours. Free of fear. Free of her. I still carry the scars, mental and otherwise. I still wake up some nights expecting to hear her voice down the hall, or check my phone instinctively for some manipulative message. Trauma has a way of leaving fingerprints in places you don't expect. But now I know how to wipe them clean. Now I know what boundaries look like. What peace sounds like. What real love feels like. Not the kind that's whispered in the dark only to be shattered by daylight, but the kind that shows up, that protects, that endures. To anyone out there going through something similar, stuck in the quiet hell of betrayal, lies, emotional violence, let me tell you this. You're not crazy. You're not weak. And you're not alone. The moment you stop chasing the version of the person you thought they were, is the moment you start finding yourself again. It's not easy, but damn, it's worth it. Because one day, you'll sit on a porch with your son, eating slightly burned hot dogs, and realize that you didn't just survive the fire. You rebuilt after it. And that's where the real story begins.